Robert Chetkintong. I hope I pronounced that
Yes,
correctly.
yes.
Indian ambassador to Ethiopia. It's really a great pleasure to have you with us, sir, today, and welcome on board. Uh, we have this series of interactions with ambassadors, particularly in the African continent, and Sunod organizes that. And this is particularly important because this is an area that India has not given adequate, attention in the past. And I'm talking from the perspective of common citizens' approach. Everybody looks to Europe and US, but I think there's a great wealth of opportunities and wealth of goodwill that exists in Africa for India, which we need to actually exploit in a big way. And this is one area that the Peninsula Foundation is looking at to bring about that awareness. With regard to the Peninsula Foundation, we are 3-year-old think tank set up in Chennai, and we are quite ambitious in terms of covering, quite a wide spectrum of, you know, activities from the perspective of policy research and policy making. So we look at governance, we look at security affairs and science and technology, international affairs and geopolitics, and of course, we also look at transformational paradigms in terms of innovation and ideas and innovation and technologies. So this approach is also towards enhancing or working towards capacity building for the younger generation. We work closely with Madras University. One of the professors from the Department of Defense Studies is there on board today, Professor Venkatraman. And he's also, I believe, worked in Ethiopia earlier. He's taught there in one of the universities. And let me now hand this over to Sunod Jacob to take this session forward. Once again, I welcome you on behalf of the Peninsula Foundation to the event today. It's Sunod, all yours. Yeah.
Thank you, Air Marshal. Thank you for the introduction. And first, let me introduce the format of this e-lecture and a little bit about the e-lecture itself. We commenced this e-lecture series since we had the first lockdown last year. And thereafter, almost on a monthly basis, we have been hosting eminent persons to deliver lectures on niche areas. It is for a duration of about 45 minutes, of which the first 30 minutes we would have the external resource person. And in this case today, we have the pleasure of having Ambassador Robert with us. And he would be speaking on India-Ethiopia relations for the first 30 minutes. And thereafter, as per usual practice, we would have about 15 to 18 minutes of Q&A session. As per now, usual practice, the questions have already been shared to the ambassador. These questions have been framed by our own researchers, and they get the first priority as usual. Now, let me welcome and introduce Ambassador Robert to our audience today. Ambassador Robert joined the Foreign Service back in 2001. He served in the Ministry of External Affairs in the headquarters as Under Secretary and later as Deputy Secretary in the External Publicity Division during 2009 to 2012 and as Joint Secretary for the Parliament and Coordination Division during 2018 to 2020. He has been posted in various missions, Indian missions, including Israel, Italy, Slovenia, and Tanzania. Ambassador Robert holds an MPhil degree in political science, and it is great to reconnect with Ambassador Robert after so many years. We welcome you once again. The floor is yours, Ambassador. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share some of my thought. I had served in Tanzania, and now this will be my second stint in East Africa. So probably over the next 10-15 minutes, yes, I will touch most of Ethiopia, but off and on, I might be touching Tanzania or East Africa. Our political relations are strong. Number of important visits have taken place. Indian president, prime minister have visited Ethiopia. The last visit was by our honorable president in October 2017. From Ethiopia, we also have been having regular visits. The last prime ministerial visit was in October 2015 for the India-Africa Forum Summit. And despite the COVID pandemic, the Ethiopian Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister was in Delhi in February 2021. Now, I would speak about the business component of our relations. Most of you would be aware that we have a number of Indian businessmen or businesses here. I believe most of the audience are from Tamil Nadu. So just to start with, actually we have a number of textile companies from Tamil Nadu, including Arvind Mills, SCM Textiles, KPR, JJ Mills, and we also have Farida Tanneries, Best International. So these are a number of big companies from Tamil Nadu who are presently here in Ethiopia. We have about probably 300, 400 people from Tamil Nadu, and you would be surprised to know that many of them are professors and lecturers teaching in various universities here in Ethiopia. Overall, we have about 1,500 to 2,000 professors and lecturers from India teaching in about 35 public universities. Education is a very important component in our relations because during the time of Emperor Haile Selassie, we had thousands of Indian teachers, and even they were teaching in remote villages and towns in Ethiopia. Today, the Ethiopian students are the largest group from Africa in India. So as I had mentioned, in our relations, it is business followed by the education component because the Indian professors and lecturers play a very important role. We are going to celebrate India's 75 years of independence for the next 2 years. And also we are going to celebrate India-Ethiopia 75 years of diplomatic relations in 2022-23. So what we have done here in Ethiopia is that every month we are going to organize seminar in one university. And the Indian professors and lecturers are going to play a very important role when we organize these seminars. I have also seen some of the questions. Some of you have asked about the development partnership or capacity building that the government of India has. You would know that we have ITEC programs for our sisters and brothers from Africa and Asia and the developing world. So under ITEC, we have about 400 slots. But because of the COVID pandemic, now there are no, people are not traveling to India for attending the courses, but there are online training slots, training programs that are being conducted. We also have, under the ICCR scholarship, we have 66 slots for Ethiopia. So a lot of Ethiopian students are availing these scholarships for provided by the Indian government. The Indian community, yes, about 100 years ago, we had more than 150 families, and these are mainly from Gujarat. But today we have about 50 to 60 families who are from Gujarat. They have stayed here for the past 4 generations. In addition, we have lots of Indian nationals working in various factories because we have 600 Indian companies that are established in Ethiopia. And out of that, we believe about 400 are active on the ground. So most of the factories are in the manufacturing sector, followed by agriculture. Despite the pandemic, actually in the last 1 year, 35 new investment projects in Ethiopia are from India. So we see that the business component is very important. We do not have people of Indian origin, unlike in other countries in East Africa, including Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. In Kenya, we might be having about 70,000 people of Indian origin. Uganda, we might be having about 30,000, 40,000. Tanzania, we might be having about 40, 50,000, but these people are of people of Indian origin. Then we also have Indian nationals who might be around 10,000 in Tanzania, maybe more in Kenya, maybe around 10,000 in Uganda. But in Ethiopia, we only have Indian nationals, so they have Indian passports. Line of credit. So far, India has assisted Tanzania because under our concessional line of credit, India has been always clear that this will be decided by the recipient country. So it is for Ethiopia to decide what they would, like to take. So when it comes to the concessional lines of credit, India has facilitated the construction of 3 sugar factories. So these have been successfully implemented. Yeah. Then Ethiopia is situated in the Horn of Africa because many of you would be interested to know about the developments in the Horn of Africa or in Northern Africa. Somalia is not stable. So we have the African Union Commission, African Union Mission in Somalia. So in that, Ethiopia plays a very important role because I believe they share about 100 and probably about 1,000 plus land border with Ethiopia shares that land border with Somalia. So even the number of soldiers that Ethiopia sends is one of the largest in that mission. And if you would also see the dynamics, because today Somalia and Kenya have issues that are being even discussed at The Hague, while they have maritime border issues, which I think Somalia has raised this at The Hague, but the Kenyans are not have not agreed to be part of that discussion or part of that negotiations at The Hague. So you will see that because of this dynamics, because of these issues, Ethiopia plays a very important role. Ethiopia also has a very important role in Sudan and South Sudan, because if you look at the UN mission in Abyei, actually all the military personnel are only from Ethiopia. In Sudan, in South Sudan, Indian soldiers are one of the largest personnel there, but even Ethiopia also has as much as I think about 2,000 soldiers there. So you will see that Ethiopia plays a very important role. You have lots of refugees from South Sudan who are hosted by Ethiopia in a region called Gambela. So you will see that in whatever way, whether it would be between warring parties or because of the refugees, Ethiopia plays a very important role in the region. Now, during the time of COVID, our Prime Minister, our Honorable Prime Minister, and the Ethiopian Prime Minister had telephonic conversation in May, and we expressed solidarity with Ethiopia and assured them that we will help them. So we have donated medicine to counter COVID-19 pandemic. And earlier this month, 2.2 million vaccines from the Serum Institute of India through the COVAX arrangements were delivered to Ethiopia. So with this short introduction, let me conclude my opening remarks so that I think we can discuss further depending on what the audience would like to ask. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for your opening remarks. Now, we have a long list of questions. So I'll take that question one by one. Right? There would be impromptu questions after we exhaust these questions. Right? So the first question, Ambassador, goes like this. Both India and Ethiopia have diverse cultures. How significant are the cultural relations between the two countries? And could you highlight some initiatives undertaken by India in Ethiopia in this context? Thank you.
Uh, our relations go about 2000 years ago of recorded history. So even during the time of the Aksum Empire here in Ethiopia, we already had relations. But down the line, it was trade and commerce. So we had people from Gujarat who would come to Yemen, and from there Yemen come to Harar. Harar is, I think it is, people say that it is the fourth holiest Islamic city or place in the world. After Mecca, Medina, Jerusalem, it is Harar. So it used to be the ancient trading post. So from there, from Harar, about 40 kilometers, we had Dire Dawa. So lots of Indians, basically traders, used to stay. So even today, we have a crematorium, a Hindu crematorium in Dire Dawa. We also have a school, though it is not functioning now. And we also have a temple in Dire Dawa. From then on, Addis Ababa would become the commercial hub. And so that is where we are. So in terms of trade and commerce, our relations have always been driven by trade and commerce. Now, in terms of culture, there are lots of similarities. Many people talk about the rock-hewn temples of the rock temples of Lila Bela. These are very the UNESCO churches, stone-hewn. There are some scholars who say that, you know, this rock engineering would have, the knowledge of rock engineering would have come from India, particularly from South Indian temples, including the temples of Tamil Nadu. So probably we have cultural relations. Today, we are, as I told you, we are going to celebrate 75 years of India's independence, followed by our 75 years of diplomatic relations, because Ethiopia had recognized India in 1948. So 2022-23 will be our 75 years of diplomatic relations. So during these 2 years, we are going to organize, as I said, lots of seminars, probably one seminar in one university every month. And also we expect lots of cultural performances by artists from India. So we will see. I think it's good. I think in terms of culture, the next 2 years is going to be very evident. It's going to be hectic.
I'll just
I
follow
think
with
probably you would like to ask Professor Manikam to say something, since he would have.
Very good afternoon, Ambassador. Very good afternoon, Ambassador.
Yes.
So very kind of you to have, agree to come to, participate in this particular event organized by TPF. I'm really very happy, sir. It's been a pleasure to be here and participating here, listening to you. Well, a lot of things came to my mind as I listened to your talk. Well, historically, yes, you are very right. I was there in Addis Ababa between 2004 and 2014 for 10 years, teaching in Addis Ababa University. So I had some opportunity to travel across the country to Lalibela, to Gonda, to Dire Dawa and other places. And I encountered so many other Indians as well as local Ethiopians in a small research that I had to do with some other local Ethiopians. And I came to know the historicity of this particular country. And the Aksum Empire that you said, the Aksum Empire, I was also there in Aksum. It's a very historical place, Aksum, where you find a lot of tourists from abroad, particularly from Europe, visit Aksum place to look at the ancient, the particular monument which is placed in Aksum city. So that's a lot of historical connection. You are very right in that. And that is where we trace the relationship between Ethiopia and India. But thereafter, I think post 1945 onwards, I think Jawaharlal Nehru, who happened to visit the country when King Haile Selassie was there as a ruler, as part of this non-aligned movement framework and all that, and where they traveled together, and it's that which consolidated the relationship between Ethiopia and India. And Haile Selassie was instrumental in bringing Indian teachers to Ethiopia. I was one among them at a later stage in 1990s, but 1940s onwards, it was Haile Selassie who was instrumental in doing that. And thereafter started the educational relationship between Ethiopia and even now, as you very correctly said, a lot of Indians are there, including from Tamil Nadu, including my own friends are still teaching in Avasa, Gondar, and other places, in Addis Ababa University too. Now, one particular point I thought I'll also mention, sir, if you can permit me, with regard to the cultural linkages, sir. With regard to the question is about cultural linkages. I was also a witness to a particular exhibition, a museum, sorry, the historical museum where you see that particular Lucy, the age-old, the first human mankind, which is supposed to have originated in Ethiopia only. The name of the skull is called as Lucy, which is kept even now at the Ethiopian Museum near Arat Kilo before the university.
Injera is one of the more, it is the daily food here in Ethiopia, and injera and dosa are similar.
Yeah. Exactly. So injera and dosa, yes. The one which is made, the brown color bread that is made, and the dosa that we made out of, that's made out of teff, whereas we made it of rice and other dough. So a lot of similarities. The cultural bond is so strong. That is a point I think we should take it for further deepening the relationship between India and Ethiopia, apart from the economics and other attributes. We have got such a strong footprint which cannot be replaced by any other country. That much I can tell you.
Thank you, Professor Manikam.
Yes, sir.
I think if Professor Manikam could share the research findings that you have carried out and perhaps send it across to the office of the ambassador, maybe it can resonate even better than it would in the academia. So
certainly, my pleasure.
Professor.
I will do that, sir.
Thank you.
I will do that, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
And also a request to Ambassador Robert, the next 2 years of the cultural events, we would be very happy if you would, you could, as much as you can, stream these events live either on Facebook or other social media platforms, so that students here can also witness that.
Sure. And
thank you.
And in addition, connecting think tanks of India and Ethiopia could be an important initiative that we will do.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you. Moving on to the next question. The second question is on trade. The question goes like this. Bilateral trade between the two countries stands at around 1.37 billion. India has hundreds of companies in Ethiopia. Did the pandemic and lockdown impact the volume of trade and employment during this period? Thank you.
In 2019, bilateral trade was 1.37 billion. In 2020, despite the COVID pandemic, of course, it slowly dipped, but it was 1.1 billion. So India is a third, as of today, India is the third largest trading partner for Ethiopia. But one thing that many people have not taken into factor is that we have a number of Indian textile companies. For example, those 6 or 7 companies that I mentioned, they are from Tamil Nadu. Now, these companies basically are most of them are in industrial park. They produce and export directly to the US or the European market. So it is showing, the trade figures are showing it as Ethiopia-US trade or Ethiopia-Europe trade. So actually, it is the Indian companies that have contributed to this element. Now, for example, JJ Textile is from Tamil Nadu. They employ about 7,000 Ethiopian nationals. Arvind Mills employs about 3,000 Ethiopian nationals. Best International employs about 3,000. They are expanding. SCM employs about 1,000 Ethiopian nationals. KPR, another 1,000 Ethiopian nationals. So if you really look, actually companies from Tamil Nadu itself who are here, who are established in Ethiopia, would employ about 20 Ethiopian nationals. So I think I think we have to give credit to Tamil Nadu companies. Now, coming back to the question, yes, the COVID pandemic has affected the economy, affected bilateral trade. You will see that today, many families, Indian families who were here have relocated to India because of the COVID pandemic. So actually it has affected everyone, but nevertheless, as I said, it has only slightly dipped. And despite the pandemic, we have already seen 35 Indian companies that are established in the last 1 year. So you will see that there is always an opportunity to come invest in Ethiopia.
Thank you, Ambassador. The next question is on the impact of COVID on the ITEC program and the lines of credit, which I think you've already covered in the course of your lecture. So I'll skip that question, move on to the fourth question. Could you brief us on India-Ethiopia relations in the energy sector? Thank you.
I think in energy sector, it is not significant. Only here, what I would like to mention is that Ethiopia is one of the earliest signatories of the International Solar Alliance. So I believe I believe and hope that Ethiopia also will take advantage of the initiatives under the International Solar Alliance, and so that they can also help improve in their energy sector. Yeah. So let me end with that with regard to this question.
Thank you, Ambassador. The next question is: China provides large infrastructure loans, and Chinese investments have grown exponentially over the years. The Asia-Africa Growth Corridor, which is touted by some sections of the media as a counter to China's Belt and Road Initiative, are we witnessing any competition between India and China playing out in Africa and in particular in Ethiopia? Thank you.
See, I have traveled in about 7 or 8 countries in Africa, and it is always visible. You can always see the Chinese presence in a big way, especially in infrastructure sector. So you would see the Chinese building railway lines, or power projects, or industrial parks, roads. So you will see the Chinese presence. Even they will be building the airports, or even the parliaments, or the democratic parliaments in this country. You will see the Chinese presence all visible. But when it comes to India, or our initiative with Japan, we are looking at the overall the growth or requirement of these countries. So it is not only in infrastructure, we are also trying to address issues of capacity building, or how employment could be generated, how people will be, how their skills can be improved. So there is no comparison between these two models. And if you look at it, if you have discussions or serious discussions with our sisters and brothers from Africa, they will only appreciate the initiatives that we do, because it is all about overall development. It is all about the requirements that are given to, that are requested to us, or that it is the African requirement that we are addressing to. So I think let us not compare between the two models. Both the countries, including in China or India, Japan, we are all successful in our own way. So I will end with that.
Thank you, Ambassador. The next question: Ethiopia is located in the strategic Horn of Africa and is the largest recipient of India's line of credit in Africa. Could you elaborate on this aspect of our bilateral relations?
So, as I said earlier, under our concessional line of credit, we have constructed 3 sugar factories. This is something that the Ethiopian side wanted to, and we have successfully completed these 3 sugar factories, and they are already manufacturing or producing premium sugar. If, as and when Ethiopian side requests for additional lines of credit, I think India will always favorably consider. Look at Tanzania. They, because under the initiatives of our lines of credit, lots of people, lots of citizens are getting running water or fresh water into their homes. It is so visible that that when you ask them, it has improved the quality of their lives. That is the kind of concessional lines of credit that India will give to the African countries.
Thank you, Ambassador. So, moving on to the next question. It's a statement and then a question. Terrorism is a threat to Ethiopia, considering that Ethiopia is located in a region which is a major source of terrorism, the surrounding region. What are the ways in which India has or can contribute to help Ethiopia to counter this threat? Thank you.
Let me not answer this question directly, but I'll give you some history. In 1960s, King Haile Selassie visited India, and in one of his trips, I think it was to Pune, he went to the military academy and he was so impressed. So he requested the Indian side to help Ethiopia set up a military academy. So based on the model of the Indian Military Academy, Dehradun, Indian army officers came to Ethiopia and set up the Harar Military Academy. So the first 3 commandants of this famous Harar Military Academy were from India. And the defense officers who graduated from this academy actually were the pride of this country. But sadly, during the Somalia-Ethiopia war, Somalians came and conquered or ran over that area. Since then, our army officers left. Now, that was in 1977. After that, we also had military instructors coming to the Ethiopian Air Force headquarters or academy, and also their navy, because earlier Ethiopia and Eritrea were one country, and their naval base was in Eritrea, and our Indian instructors used to come and teach them. The last group of officers who came to Ethiopia was in 2011, when a group of army officers came and taught at their Harar military academy. So you will see that we have been contributing to development of their capacity, even in defense. And India is always ready to assist them in case they need or they request us.
If they request, yes.
He visited in Pune, near Pune, Kadakwasla, the National Defense Academy.
Very true, sir.
Model was the National Defense Academy. Which was built. And the prime block in the National Defense Academy is also a gift from Sudan. Sudan block is it's a huge dome which looks like the Rashtrapati Bhavan itself. That's right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the.
Thank you. The next question is related to the sugar production you were mentioning. One of India's major development projects was to make Ethiopia self-sufficient in sugar production. But sugar imports continue to skyrocket, with touching almost 4 lakh metric tons estimated to be imported in the year 2019-20. Are we facing any obstacles in execution of our project, or is it a work in progress? Thank you.
As I told you earlier, we have constructed 3 sugar factories under our concessional lines of credit, right? We have also Indian farmers or Indian businessmen who have invested in agriculture here, including in a sugar farm. So wherever there are opportunities, Indian entrepreneurs, Indian businessmen will always be there. Now, when it comes to sugar, now Ethiopia is going to privatize their sugar factories. Now, I don't know whether Indian investors will be interested in taking over the sugar factories, but for sure, I know that whoever with the investors who have bought or taken over the sugar factories will be looking out for management of these factories. And I see a lot of scope in Indian experts who will come to Ethiopia to manage the sugar factories. So I see a lot of opportunity in the next 2-3 years.
Thank you. So it is a work in progress. And,
yes.
And as Ambassador mentioned, perhaps our human resources can contribute even further towards expediting our goals in this through this project. Thank you. The next question is, what is the significance of the recently signed African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement with respect to trade with Ethiopia in particular and Africa as a whole? Thank you.
For a businessman, today for a businessman looking at Ethiopia, sees Ethiopia as a gateway to the region. Why it is a gateway? Because Ethiopia is the second largest populated country in Africa after Nigeria. So here we have about 112 million people. So in the surrounding, you have Kenya with about 50 million. Uganda will be a bit less. You have Sudan, you have South Sudan. So overall, you'll see a large market. But so that is why many countries, many investors look at Ethiopia as the entry point, despite the fact that Ethiopia does not have a port of its own. Today, it is operating basically from Djibouti. And I believe every day there are about 1,000 trucks that operate between Djibouti and the inland ports in Ethiopia. Now, what the African Continental Free Trade will bring about is that it will connect 1.3 people in India with 1.2 people in Africa. So it becomes a market of 2.5 billion people. Yes, the African Free Trade Agreement has come into effect, but it is a work in progress. I believe there will be hurdles which the leaders of this continent are going to address. It is a work in progress, but in the long run, you're going to see two markets coming together, 1.3, 1.2, making 2.5 billion, a common market for 2.5 billion. That is the opportunity we are looking at.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. That's a very optimistic perspective. And I'm sure there will be some of our members of our audience will be looking very keenly at the statement. Now, we shall now open the floor for the impromptu questions. Now, I'd request the audience to introduce themselves very briefly and keep your questions short as much as possible. And thank you.
I think while the audience they are typing questions, I want to narrate one story. Dr. Kannan Ambalam is from Tamil Nadu. He is, I think he's an associate professor at Volga University. Now, what Dr. Kannan has done is that he goes to the rural areas, to the villages, and he constructs bridges for them. So far, Dr. Kannan and his friends have constructed about
Just
70 bridges across streams in various parts of Volega. I think this is very commendable on the part of Dr. Kannan. Also, he will go to the villages and go to their water springs and revive these water springs. So this is Dr. Kannan from Tamil Nadu. Really a commendable job that he has done in the last, I don't know, 1 or 2 years.
It's really nice, refreshing to hear
Yeah.
that. Yes, Air Marshal.
No, I was about to check with the ambassador. How about what is the status of Djibouti with respect to Ethiopia's access as a port? And Djibouti has a lot of strategic importance, particularly from a military perspective, where China and the Western allies also operate from there. So, what's the context in which Ethiopia relates to that?
Sir, actually, today Djibouti is the only port for Ethiopia. Today, this is the only port. Now, Ethiopians are looking at alternatives. They are looking at Lema port in Kenya. They are looking at Sudan port. But as of today, Djibouti provides the only access. Now, if you ask many Indian businessmen, they will narrate to you stories about how they are encountering delays because probably the operations have to improve or there has to be better coordination. I believe Djibouti port has excellent facility, but there are issues of delay that have been raised by our fellow citizens from time to time. Yes, in terms of defense, in terms of security, even Ethiopians are also looking at Djibouti port to restart their navy. So that is how important Djibouti is.
Okay, that's
Thank
interesting.
you, Ambassador. So with that, I think the question and answer session comes to a close. Now I will request my colleague Mohit to deliver the vote of thanks to our ambassador.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this wonderful event. We thank Ambassador Robert Setkintong for accepting our invitation despite his busy schedule and providing us with valuable insights into India-Ethiopia relations. It was an extremely interesting session and we young researchers were all looking forward to it, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for patiently answering our questions in detail. I would like to thank Air Marshal M. Matheswaran, founder and chairman, Peninsula Foundation, for chairing the event, and Dr. Sunod Jacob, our senior fellow, for moderating the event. I also thank all the researchers for their questions, and I'm sure all of us have benefited immensely from this event. Once again, thank you, Ambassador Robert. We hope to interact with you again in the near future.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.